Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello, hi, my name is Jyotsna and I make book related videos on this channel. So anything associated with books or books pique your interest, then please consider subscribing. So basically, I have been sick for the past 2 days and that's why I could not get a video out. But now that I'm feeling a bit better, my throat is a bit better and I can speak, I finally sat down to make this video. If you're enjoying the end of the year series, do give it a thumbs up. This is the end of the year series where I wrap up the year, and this is the third year I'm doing it. And all the information is there in the description box below for the playlist if you want to see the videos made in the previous years. So in this particular video, I'm going to be talking about the books I did not like in 2023. So this year I wanted to do it a bit different because generally I call these videos worst of 2023 or worst of that particular year. But I actually wanted to broaden my spectrum and talk about books that I'm really neutral towards as well. So before I jump into it, I want you to know my rating system. My rating system is pretty simple. I have a rating system which is on 5 stars, but I also have another rating system where I talk about the net promoter score, and this is how it looks. I described this very well in my previous video that I posted 3 days back about the data stats for 2023. So do go ahead and check out that video. It's in the description box below, and it mainly talks about the feeling that I have towards the book. So, for example, if a book is 9 or 10, it is a promoter for me, and I promote that book. I go on top of the roof and shout out saying that please read this book. If the book is an 8 or a 7, I am neutral towards the book. I do not have specific feelings and it did not affect me. And if it is anything below 7, then it's a pure detractor. So maybe books that are detractors are what I generally diss on, are books that I generally don't like. But in this video, I'll be also including some neutral books to tell you on what my thoughts were for those neutral reads. Now that you understood that concept, what I want to share with you as a part of the neutrals list is the books that I read and I rated below 4. So it's below 4 and also neutral on the NPS scale. Let me start with the first one. So this is in the order of reading and not in any particular order. I did not want to, make a tier list saying I hate this less and I hate this more. No, this is not a hate list. This is a do not like list. The first book in this list is Autumn in a Nightie by Anjana Menon, which is a collection of short stories, and it is a debut book for Anjana Menon, and it talks about her going back to my home state Kerala during the COVID lockdown to be with her parents. So she and her brother are in Delhi. They've been born and brought up in Delhi as well. And I think after retirement, her parents decided to go back, and she decided to spend time with her parents during COVID because they're old and they're frail. And this book is really funny. I think that the first half of the book is very, very nice. It's really good as well because the book itself has sketches, but unfortunately this did not work out for me. I rated this book 3 stars and I gave this an NPS of 8, simply because the second half was really dull and it just fell flat on its face. It felt like the author had the first half planned out very well and they did not know how to end it. They just cooked up something in the second half. Then the next book, this is the longest book I've read in 2023, and that is A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. I absolutely hated this book. I'm telling you, I mean, it's not worth your time. Maybe it's a Marmite book. A Marmite book is generally either you really like it or you really hate it. Honestly, I did not find this to be a detractor. I wanted this to be a neutral because although the writing and everything is out of this world and it's very good, the book did not affect me at all, and that is why this book has a rating of 3 stars and the NPS of 7 for the next neutral book, and that is How High We Go in the Dark by Sekua. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the author's name, so I'm just going to leave it there, but you can see it on the screen. This book is basically a collection of dystopian short stories which are set in a world which has been overcome by some sort of plague. and of course it was written during COVID, and that is very evident. But unfortunately, the stories are not impactful, and that's why I ended up rating this book 3 stars with an NPS of 7. Although I really like the idea and the concept, the execution of the book was not really good. So those were the 3-star books. And now I get into the books that were rated between 3 and 4 stars. So the first book in this list is Children of Paradise by Kamila Brutova, which was actually longlisted for the Women's Prize, and that's how I ended up reading it. It's a psychological horror that is set in an old school theater, and yeah, I mean, it is a good novella per se. I think it's a novella and not a novel, but it just does not have that kind of impact that you're expecting, because it has a lot of not so gory elements, or I don't know, there's something about the book that makes you very uneasy. But if you're a fan of psychological horror, maybe you can read it. I'm a huge fan of psychological horror, but I do not like psychological horror that is open-ended, and that's what it felt for me. And that is why I decided that I didn't like this much. I gave it a 3.5 stars with an NPS of 7. This book is kind of a book or an author that I really admire, but unfortunately this book did not work for me, and that is Notes on a Nervous Planet by Matt Haig. And honestly, I gave this again at 3.5 stars with an NPS of 7. But what did not work out for me was the anxiety that it triggered in me, because the book actually started off as an optimistic read, and then it turned into something that really triggered my anxiety and made me think of the bad times. And that is kind of counterproductive, because I'm reading the book to reduce my anxiety, but then the book eventually increase my anxiety, and yeah, that is not good. It did not work out for me, honestly. I did not like it at all. Then the next book in this list is an Instagram book talk favorite, and that is Crying in Edgemart by Michelle Zauner. And I had heard a lot about this book earlier, and I'm a huge fan of nonfiction in general and memoirs in general, and especially this is about death and that to grief. And I am very, very interested in the topic of grief and death, and that is why I decided to read this, right? And I've been hearing so many good things about it. But unfortunately, this book did not affect me at all. I did give it 3.5 stars. I did rate it 8 on the NPS spectrum, but it did not really impact me. I get why people say that this might be like a book that really made them feel grief, and I understand that. But having read books on grief and death before, this is maybe like a novice book on grief, and of course, no disrespect to the author and her loss. It is, an important book in all its stature, but then the hype around the book is really unwanted in general. So I did not enjoy that one. Now let's get to the books that I really hated, and these are the books that you should steer clear from. As for me, maybe it's not for you, but let's see how this goes. If you liked something in this list, if you read something in this list, let me know. So the first book in this list is How to Stand Up to a Dictator by Maria Ressa, who is actually a Nobel laureate. She's won the Nobel Prize, or the Nobel Peace Prize, in 2020, right? And also I was excited to read this book. I was reading it as a part of my booktube prize as well. However, this book kind of really, really creeped in the wrong way into me, and I rated it 3.5 stars, but it was 6 as for me. So anything below 7 is a detractor, and that's a bad thing. It basically talks about everything that we already know. I respect the author's struggles. I respect their struggles with the entire situation and with their journalistic pursuit, because I think they're still imprisoned in the Philippines. But the book in itself is not well edited, and it just talks about social media and social media's evils that we all know about. Okay, I think the reason why this book triggered me a lot is because it keeps ranting about the same topic again and again, and it keeps coming back to the same point on how the government is trying to use social media to run their propaganda, which all of us know about by now, which all of us are very off, at this point of time. But yeah, the book just keeps running in circles and it does not get to its point, except the point is social media is evil. Government is doing this to us. And that's what the book is about. So yeah, I do respect Maria Ressa and her struggles, and outside of work, like I would love to meet her in person, or outside of social media, I would love to meet this person. But the book, nah, not so good. I'm sorry about that. The next book in this list is Fire Rush by Jacqueline Crooks, which was shortlisted for the Women's Prize, and that's how I ended up reading it. And I rated it 3 stars, and it's a detractor at 6 for me, simply because this book did not make much sense to me. This book talks about like the Caribbean migrant community in the UK, and the racism they had to face and how they are a part of this mafia and things like that. Maybe it was not relatable for me because I don't come from the community, but it just felt very disconnected in general. What summarizes my thoughts about this book is very simple. I felt like standing behind a glass panel while this crazy story went on the other side. And maybe it's the Rastafari aspect, or maybe it's simply because I am not taking a liking to Jamaican literature in 2023, which might not be a good thing for me, but you get my point, right? I hope to read more better Jamaican or Caribbean books in 2024. Then the last book in this list is Modern Hindi Stories, which is a collection of stories which is available on Amazon. And this book really did not affect me at all. Okay, the rating is 3 stars, and I rated the lowest score of all the NPS is for me in this list is 5, and that's what I rated it. And it's simply because the quality of the stories or the collection of the stories was not good enough. There were some stories that were good, there were some stories that were horrendous. And I think, because this book has a foreword by Bhisham Sani, who's a very famous Hindi author, yeah, like it did not work for me at all. And except for two stories, I love those two stories. I hated the others, and it was a nightmare for me reading it. So that's it for this video. These are the books I did not like in 2023. I have been using my throat a lot and I really need to give it some rest. So I hope you like this. Do give it a like. And if you've read any of these books, let's discuss in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Bye.